Okay, I want to welcome you all to our Photoshop class, episode 1. And trust me, it's going to be insight upon insight upon insight. So, our first class about Photoshop for beginners, we are going to start from uh, the first time you open Photoshop, how the interface is going to look like, and how you are going to create documents. So, you are going to learn a lot today. So, invite a friend to invite another friend. So whilst you are waiting, invite a friend to invite another friend. Whilst you are waiting, invite a friend whilst we are still waiting. And trust me, you are going to learn a lot. Invite a friend to invite a friend. Let's use about 10 minutes to invite others. So exactly at 9:10, you will click on start, and then you begin our Photoshop class for today. Invite a friend to invite a friend. Whilst you are waiting, invite a friend, and we will start our class very soon. So invite a friend to invite another friend. You'll be starting very soon. Invite a friend. A friend to invite. I'm still waiting for you. Please invite a friend. You'll be starting very soon. And whilst you are waiting, I'll be glad if you can invite somebody to join us. And if you are ready, just drop an emoji in the comment section. Just drop an emoji in the comment section. You'll be starting very soon. Very soon. You'll be starting very soon. Let me know in the comment section if you are ready. So just drop an emoji. Just drop an emoji in the comment section to indicate that you are ready for the class today. Just drop an emoji. An emoji. You'll be starting very soon. Just drop an emoji. Just drop an emoji. You'll be starting very soon. So in this class, we are going to talk about Photoshop, and it's my prayer that by the end of this class, each and every one of us should be able to design using Photoshop. It's my prayer. So you'll be starting very soon. I want you to invite somebody to invite somebody. How else you are waiting? Let's keep sharing the link. You'll be starting very soon. Let's keep sharing the link. Share the link to someone. Share the link. We will start at exactly 9:10. So let's give them few minutes to connect. Whilst we are waiting, just invite a friend to invite another friend. Invite a friend. So a few minutes to start. We will start at exactly 9:10. Let's give them few minutes to join us. And whilst they are waiting, you can share the link to somebody who is interested in learning Photoshop. Okay, so it's time. So let's get started. Okay. Okay. So I want to welcome every one of you to our Photoshop class, and this is the episode 1. So it is a beginner class. If you don't know anything about Photoshop, this class is for you. And trust me, this class is going to be very educative for those of us who don't know anything about Photoshop. You are going to learn a lot, and it is my prayer that by the end of this class, each and about 50% of us, or I'll be glad if each and every one of us is able to design using Photoshop. At least we can design for ourselves and also design for others to get some coins. Okay, so if you are watching, just drop an emoji. Just drop an emoji. Just drop an emoji so that I will know that you are watching. Just drop just an emoji. Any comments, any emoji, just drop an emoji. Just drop an emoji. Just drop an emoji. An emoji in the comment section, please. You will start very soon. I believe you can hear me very well. Please, can you hear me? Master B, I see you. I see you. Is it article? Okay, Fini follower. I see you. I see you. You drop a star. I see you. Okay, and I believe you can see the screen very well and you can hear me as well. Okay, 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 okay. So let's start. The software, the Photoshop software the link was dropped in the group, and I believe each and every one of us have been able to download and install it. So now we are starting from scratch. Okay, so I want you to, maybe, I don't know if you can use your phone to watch, and then you can use your PC to practice whatever we are learning here. And I'll be using Photoshop, the version 2025. Photoshop, the version 2020 up till 2026. All these versions have the same features, just that from 2020 to 2026, some little features have been added to it. But from, if you are using 2020, 2021, 2022 up till 2026, we are all having the same features, except those who are using 2019 and others. For them, they are using CSS and others. The features is a bit different. So if you are using Photoshop 2020, or you are using Photoshop 20, from 2020 to 2026, you're on the track. So now that we have downloaded and installed our Photoshop, let me launch the Photoshop app. So it's here. So you just double click it to launch. Whilst you are waiting, invite a friend to invite another friend. Okay. Okay. So if you have any question, I want you to write it somewhere. The class will be broken into two. It is just an hour class. So after 30 minutes, you'll bring in your questions, and then you will continue the second part. And after the second part too, I'll take another questions, then we close. Okay, so if you open the Photoshop for the first time, this is how the interface looks like. But before that, let's talk about what we are going to learn throughout this Photoshop class for beginners. So we are going to talk about the interface. If you open the Photoshop, how the interface looks like. Then we will talk about how we are going to create documents, and then we talk about how we are going to save documents. Then we'll talk about image resolution and formats. Okay. Then we will move to the basic tools. There are a lot of tools in the Photoshop interface. So we are going to talk about the basic ones, the ones we are going to use in our everyday designs. Then we will move to the intermediate editing, that's the layers and masks, blending modes, and others. Then we will move to removing backgrounds, adding text, creating thumbnails, and exporting our designs. Okay, so let's come back to the interface. So if you open the Photoshop for the first time, this is how the interface looks like. So over here, you will see a bar here, and the bar contains file, edit, image, and others. And if you move right here, you will see there is minimize, maximize, and close over here. We will talk about that one later. Then if you come over here, we have new file and we have open. So if you are going to create a new document, you are going to select a new file. And if you have a working maybe you are working on a document and you want to continue, you choose the open, and then you use it to open our document. And then the other designs, your recent designs will be here. So you can see that recently I was working on this one, it's here, and other designs I was working on, they are here as well. So all your recent designs will be listed over here. Okay, so let's move here again. So now, if you want to create, since you are opening Photoshop for the first time, you need to create a document you'll be working on. So you will click on a new file. Then if you click on new file, Photoshop from 2020 to 2026 version has something called templates. So they already have sizes we can use. So going through these sizes, you can select photo here, and it's going to give you sizes for photos. If you can go here, print, it's going to give you letter size, legal, and others, A4 and others. Art and illustration, you can choose one of the templates over here. But we are creating design. Maybe the person have given you a dimension to create a design. So let's say you are creating a design which will be pasted on, maybe the person wants it to be pasted at the back of his laptop. So that means you are going to use the dimensions that have been given us by that person. So for that case, we are going to create our own dimension. So we are not going to use the template that have been given us by the Photoshop. Into you will come over here, then you will see preset details. So this is where we are going to set our dimensions and others. So we are going to type the document, the name of the document you are creating over here. So let's say, let me type basic. For identification sake, sometimes if you don't rename it, you can't find it when you are looking for it. So just type the name of the document over here. Then the next one is width. The width of the document you are creating, the width is the horizontal length. Okay, so we are just going to type the width over here. But before we type the width, let's check something here. The dimension is over here. The dimension we are using is over here. So you will click here, and then you see that Photoshop has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's giving us 6 dimensions. The first one is pixels. We have inches, centimeters, millimeters, points, and picas. Mostly we use pixels and inches and sometimes centimeters. Mostly I use inches. So if you want to use pixels too, you can select. But mostly for the purpose of this class, we'll be using inches. So inches over here. Then you type the width. Remember, we are typing in inches. If you want to type in centimeters too, centimeters is over here. So you are just going to select the units you'll be working for. So you just select the units. And then for my case, I'm using inches. Then after typing the width, you move down here, and there is height too over here. Height. So height is also the vertical length of the document we are creating. So you are just going to type the height over here. But before you type your dimensions, make sure you measure the document you are creating. Maybe you are creating A4 size. You are creating the document to be posted on Instagram. So you make sure you search for Instagram post dimensions before you come and type them over here. Okay. So we have the width here and we have the height here. Then you see orientation. Basically, orientation is you can see there is um, we have portrait over here and we have landscape too over here. The orientation is set automatically. You can decide to change it to, if you from the dimensions you give the preset details. If the width is longer than the height, then basically it is a landscape. And if the height is higher than the height is higher than the width, it's going to be portrait. So you see, when I click on portraits, the dimensions changes and the height increases to 16 and the width is 9. But when I click on landscape, it's going to give me the width 16 and the height 9, which can be changed. You can decide not to click here or click here. Just give out your dimensions and leave and move on. I believe you can see the screen well. Is it blur? Okay, so let's move on. Once you are done giving out these dimensions, you see a box here. You can decide to take it or leave it. It is called artboards. So what the artboard do is that it allows you to work on 2 or more documents at the same time. Maybe you want to design 2 flyers or 3 flyers at the same time. You are going to check this box. But if you are designing just one, you can decide to turn it off and move on. And whilst you are working on a document and you want to work on 2 or more, you can turn it on. We will get there. But for the purpose of this class, let's leave it off and move here. So for the resolution, so any of the social media designs is 300 pixels. So just type 300 here. So the resolution is, all images contain something called the pixels. So pixels are the small dots that comes together to form image. So you can see there are other dimensions over here. So we have pixels per inch and we have pixels per centimeter. So what 300 pixels per inch means is that per every inch there are 300 pixels. I mean, there are 300 dots in it forming the image. I believe you can get me. And the size of the document you are creating also depends on the resolution as well. Okay, so let's move down here. And we have the color mode. We have about 5 color modes over here, but we'll be talking about only 2 for now. If you are designing a flyer to be posted only on social media, maybe the flyer won't be printed, you are going to choose RGB. Maybe the flyer is going to be used only on social media. The flyer is going to be posted on Facebook, Instagram, and others. The flyer won't be printed. You are going to use RGB. But if the flyer is going to be printed, you are going to choose CMYK. You can decide to design in RGB, but when you send it to the printing house, they will convert it to CMYK. Sometimes the color of your design decreases, but it's always advisable to design according to if you're going to print or not, because if you design in RGB and at the end of the day it's going to be printed, they are going to convert it to CMYK, but I can always design in RGB. So we have background content over here. The document you are creating, you can decide to choose the color you want for the background over here. So you just click on the drop down and just select your background. We have white, black, then you have background color, and you have transparent. If you want it to be transparent, just choose transparent. For my case, I'm just choosing white. Okay, so for the dimensions, we are done setting the dimensions and others. So once you are done setting up the preset details, you are going to click on create below here. So create, and our documents have been created over here. Okay, let me do this in order not to confuse you. I'm coming. Okay, so our document is over here, and this is the interface you are going to get once the Photoshop opens. A few minutes, I'm coming. Okay, so when the Photoshop opens, a few seconds, give me a few seconds, I'm coming. Okay, so let's talk about the interface of the Photoshop. When the Photoshop opens, you can see that there is a first bar over here, and that bar contains file, edit, image, layer, type, select, filter, view, plugins, window, help. So this bar is called the menu bar. The menu bar. The menu bar. This first bar is called the menu bar. And below the menu bar is another bar here, and it is called the options bar. Options bar. For the menu bar, it doesn't change. Let's say it is constant key. For the menu bar, it doesn't change, but the options bar changes depending on a tool we've selected. We'll talk about it later, so don't worry. So the menu bar is constant, it doesn't change. And we have the options bar here. It changes depending on a tool we have selected. Then we have a toolbar here, a toolbar at our left hand side over here. We have a toolbar. The toolbar contains of the tools you'll be using to design. So if your toolbar, you see your toolbar here, you can see that there is small two arrows over here. You can choose it to. You can click on that arrow to have two columns. And if you want to have only one column, you can click here to have just one column over here. So let me make it two columns. Okay. And aside our toolbar, we have our canvas. The canvas is the document you have created. I mean, the dimension you have created, the document you have created to work on. This is the canvas. So this is what we'll be working on. And aside our canvas, we have our panels. The panel contains layers, channels, path, and others. So our panels is also here. And I want us to look at something. As we all know, Photoshop is designed for editing or creating flyers. But aside creating flyers, there are other functions or there are other things Photoshop can do. So if you click on the drop down arrow on the panels over here, you can see that you have graphic and web, you have motion, you have painting, photography, and others. If mistakenly you make changes to the Photoshop and you want to restore the default settings, you are just going to click on the drop down arrow over here. Then you click on reset essentials and it's going to give you the default interface. So always make sure it is at essentials since you are just designing a flyer. So just leave it at essentials and let's move on. So if you look down here, you also have another bar here, and when this bar, the status bar contains the zoom level, the amount of zoom over here. So you can see that my zoom level is 12.5 over here. And also there is another one here. If you click on it without releasing your hands, it will show you the dimensions and the resolution as well and the channel. So my dimension, the width is 4,800 pixels, which is 406 millimeters, and then it will give you the height as well, and then it will give you the channel. Either you are working with RGB, CMYK, or others, and then it will show you the resolution. For my case, mine is 300 pixels per inch. Okay, so these are the features of the Photoshop. These are the default features of the Photoshop. So I want us to talk about the toolbar, and the options bar. Okay, so as I said, the menu bar is constant, it doesn't change, and the options bar changes depending on a tool you have selected. Let me illustrate it so that you can see it. Let me select the first tool on the toolbar and let's see something. So I'll click on the first tool and you can see that the options bar have changed. It always gives us options for a tool we have selected. As I said, it changes. So it has given us options for the first tool I've selected, and You can see that when I click on this one too, the options bar will change. If I click on this one too, the option will change. So we have spent the first 30 minutes. So I'm taking questions. If you have any question, considering what you have talked about so far, you can drop them. Any question at all. If you have any question at all, you can drop them here. Any question? Okay, so if there is no question, let's continue. If there is no question, let's continue. Okay, so the first tool on the toolbar is called the move tool. And one thing about the tools in Photoshop is that some of the tools are, let me call it, parent tools. They contain other tools as well. So if you left click on the first tool, which is the move tool, you can see that there is another tool beneath it, and it is called the art board. Remember when when we first opened the Photoshop interface, there was a box I was talking about, that when you click on it, you can work on 2 or more documents at the same time. So there is artboard tool here. If you want to create another document to work on, you can use this artboard tool. For now, we are using only the move tool. What the move tool does is that it is used to move a picture, image, or anything on the canvas from one area to the another. So it is used to move one or move an element from one space to another space. So let's say, let me, for example's sake, let me draw this. Okay, so you want to move this one to maybe this side. You are just going to select the move to, and you select this one and move it to the area you want to place this one. In fact, the tools are many, but for beginners, we are going to talk about five, the basic five. Then later we will talk about the others. In fact, all of them are important, but for basic learners, we are going to talk about five, and later we will talk about the rest in order not to confuse you. So the first one, this one, is called the move tool. Let me see if I can zoom in so that you can have, okay. This one is called the move tool. The move tool, sometimes when you open it, you will see something like this. It has been changed to the arts board. So what you're going to do is that you just left click on it and then click on move tool. You can see some of the tools are having this small arrow beneath them. If you see this small arrow, that means that tool contains 2 or more tools in it. So the first one we are talking about is the move tool, and I've told you already that the move tool is used to move either text, images, or other elements from one area to the another, like this. You can see. If you have any questions, you can you can write it somewhere. At the end of the lesson, you can bring out your questions. Now, the next two I want us to talk about is this shape, the shape tool. You all know shapes. There are a lot of shapes in this shape tool. So if you right click on it, it's going to give you a rectangle, ellipse, triangle, polygon, line, and it's having other custom shapes you can select from. So if you want to draw, let's say, an ellipse, you just select the ellipse from the shape tool. Then you place your mouse at the canvas and then click without releasing your hand, and then draw it over the canvas. Later, we will talk about how to edit, change the colors and others. For today, we are just talking about just the tools. So we have talked about the move tool, and I've told you that it is used to move elements, images, and others from one area to the another. And then we've also talked about the shape tool, and I've told you there are a lot of shapes over here. So in case you want to draw any shape, you just select your preferred shape and then draw it over the canvas. Just draw it over the canvas like this. You can see now I'm having the rectangle, ellipse, and then triangle also over here. So now we've talked about two tools, that's the move tool and the shape tool. And the next tool we are talking about is the text over here. So the text tool is used to add text to our document. So let's say we want to type basic designer. So I'm just going to type basic designer, and it's here. Okay, so basic designer. So basically our text tool is used to add text to our documents. And the next tool I would like to talk about is this one, the object selection tool. It is used for making selections. In Photoshop, before we can make changes to any document or any layer, we need to make a selection before you can. Let's say you want to remove a background of an image. This one can help you to remove the background. And also we have another selection tool over here. I don't want to worry you with a lot of tools because as we are working, as we are trying on other documents, we'll be learning along as we are designing. And then we have the pen tool also over here. Pen tool over here. And the last one I would like to talk about, the last but one, is the gradient tool. You have the gradient tool if you want to add gradient to your design. You see that there is gradient here. If you want to add gradients to your design, this is the gradient tool. And then the last one we will talk about in this lesson is the zoom, the zoom tool. So we have the plus and minus, so you just click on it and it will zoom in, and the minus tool, it will zoom out. If you have any question, just leave them in the comment section now, and you are going to discuss. Okay, any question? I'll say the dimensions. The dimension on the left and top of the canvas do not show in my Photoshop. Please, what version of Photoshop are you using? Are you using 2020, 2021, or 25? Okay, so this one is also called the document tab. The document tab, this one here, you can see the name of the document you created over here. It is called the document tab. So let's say you are working on your Photoshop have opened two documents. Let me create another document here for the purpose of this class. Let me create another. Okay, you can see that the new document I just created is over here. I didn't title it, so it is left untitled. And the one I titled it, you can see basic over here. So this is called the document tab. You can switch between all the documents you are working on at the same time. If you have any question, you can leave them in the comment section. Leave them in the comment section. Okay. Since He's not responding. I'm waiting for your response. Master B. Master B, you said the dimensions on the left and top of the canvas do not show. So I don't know if you can share with me the version of Photoshop you are using. Okay. The last thing I'll be talking about before this class ends is something called layers. In fact, Photoshop is built on layers. If you understand layers, you understand Photoshop. If you understand Photoshop, if you understand layers, you understand Photoshop. Photoshop is all about layers. Okay, so I don't know if you have layers here in your Photoshop. Okay, so he's saying he's using 2023. Wow. Okay, so after the class, I'll send you a message on WhatsApp so that we will talk about it. Okay, so as I said, Photoshop works on the principle of layers. When we went to school, we were talking about a type of rock, and that type of rock, it is arrangement of rocks that made that rock. That's the principle Photoshop works on. There is something called layers over here. You can see that. Let me move to this, the document we are working on. Let me adjust it a bit. You can see that all the shapes I added on my canvas, all of them are here. You can see that the first one is, let me zoom in so that, okay. You can see that the first one I created, which is the rectangle, is here, and the second one, ellipse, is here, and the third one, the triangle, is also here, and the text I added and the gradients I added is also here. What it does is that it arranges the documents we are working on. So let's say, let me use this one to explain it so that you understand it very well. I'm coming. Okay, let me talk about this one first. You can see that when you look at each of these layers, each of them have this eye, this small eye over here behind it, and this eye is used to turn off a layer, and also it is used to turn on a layer. So let's say I've added this rectangle shape and I want to hide it, I want to turn it off, or I want to delete it. I can just turn off this eye. I can click on this eye and it's going to be off without deleting. Maybe you want to use it later, you can turn it off over here. Let me turn this one, the gradient, off so that you can see it well. And if you want to turn off these ones too, you can use the eye over here to turn them off. One thing I want us to talk about is that when a layer overlaps on a layer, let's say, let me change the colors of these ones. We will talk about how to change colors, God willing, tomorrow, so no worries. So here layers we now on say we bigger than triangle shape. Nti sɛ yɛpɛ sɛ yɛ triangle shape no overlap or yɛ rectangle shape no so deɛ a agye sɛ rectangle no ɛda aseɛ ɛsiane ayɛ sɛ deɛ yɛaba square bɛdi line so no sɛ deɛ ɔwa ɛbɛdi deɛ ɔɛti anim a yɛnhu deɛ ɔɛti a. So what we are going to do is that we are going to arrange the layers over here in a way that they will all be visible. And if there are parts of a certain layer you want to hide, you can use other layers to cover it. So let's say I want to place this ellipse to turn this one off. Okay, You can see that when you look at the layers over here, the ellipse tool comes before the rectangle tool layer. Sorry. So if I want to bring back the ellipse tool, I'm just going to drag the rectangle tool here, and then you can see that the ellipse tool is the ellipse shape is hiding at the back of the rectangle. I don't know if you are getting what I'm talking about. Are you getting the principle of the layers? Are you getting it? Please, are you getting it? Please, are you getting it? Are you getting it? Okay. So, and when you come to the panels tool over here, you can see that the layers are hiding over here. Yeah, I'm in percent may use Photoshop no about layers na hide was. So what I do is that I'll just click on the layers like this, then drag it over here and put it somewhere here, so that give it me layers in here. After the layers in so come. And depending on how to make you want to make your design, you just click, drag, and arrange your layers depending on how you want your viewers to see the document you are creating. Let's say I want to bring this text at the back of the triangle, so I'm just going to the layer, select the text layer, and then I'll just bring it at the back of the triangle, and you can see that the text is hiding at the back of the triangle. And mind you, before you move anything on the canvas, you move anything on the document you are creating, you have to select the layer. You have to select the layer. So if I want to move the text I added over here, I have to select the layer of the text. Let's say I want to move the text, and on the layers, I've selected rectangle, and then I select my move tool. What will happen is that when I click and drag, the rectangle tool will move. But if you want to move the text tool and select the text layer, and you click and drag, the text is going to move like this. You see. So the opposite will move via or your document now you're creating so now. You best select the layer and sign a movie. The opposite will move via now the opposite will young word you may be also selecting a layer and sign one movie. You best say young word you may be you have to select the layer. If you want to erase it, if you want to edit any layer or edit anything you have added on your document canvas, you have to select that document layer. Anything when you come to Photoshop, add to be a layer. Even if it is a full stop, a layer. But what you see, it is all draw Photoshop and draw full stop. Oh, Photoshop canvas and so it will give you a different layer. There will be a amount layer about code. You can see that the gradient I added, the layer is over here. The rectangle is here, the triangle is here, the text and the ellipse tool is also here. Ellipse shape is also here. So you can decide to turn it on or you can decide to turn it off. And one thing about the layers, each of the layers is that you can decide to lock it. When you lock it, you can't make changes to it. You can see that the first layer, you can see your document canvas now. And my first layer, once you select a white background on the mind, and only once you're locking on say. So in order to make changes to it, you have to unlock it. You can see that there is a padlock over here. So you just click on the padlock and it will be unlocked. And if you want to lock it again so that no one can make changes to it, you just select the layer and then click on the padlock over here. Machine library class is streaming. Once a padlock ya add no say ya lock no intimi make changes biya to sa layer no unless say also ya lock no unless say ya unlock no and so it's not making changes to that layer. But don't just say let me check the time. Okay, we've spent 50 minutes. We have about 10 more minutes to go. So let's talk about one thing over here. Then I will take your questions and we close. Hello? Sorry, my mic went off. Okay, so I've already told you that if you want to work on anything you have added on the canvas, you need to select its layer. But here is the case that there is something called auto select. So if you want to work on a certain layer, you don't have to come here and select that particular layer. Let's say I want to work on this ellipse 2. Let me select it. I want to work on this ellipse 2, but since I've not selected the layer, this rectangle shape is moving because I've selected the rectangle shape. So what the auto select does is that when you tick or when you click to turn it on, you are not going to select the layers on what you are going to work on. At the corner person selecting a layer. Until you just click on, let's say I want to work on the ellipse shape. So I just click on the ellipse and you can see from the layers that it has automatically selected the ellipse layer. Easy. Let me click on this one. You see, as soon as I click on it, it has automatically selected its layer. As soon as I click on the text, it automatically selects its layer. So you can see, as soon as you click on it, automatically the layers is selected and you can work on it smoothly. But if you are working on complex designs or complex flyers, I won't advise you to use this auto select. I won't advise you to use the auto select. Okay, and on the options bar too, we have show transform. And yet Photoshop beyond will be, especially the from but show transform there. So what's taking on? They are always, you see these ones, they are used to change the size of all the elements you have added on your canvas. So let's say you have added an image. As soon as you select its layer, it will give you these transform controls to control it. One gift I'll give you today is a shortcut. So the shortcuts we can use aside turning on this feature. Let me turn it off. Aside turning on this feature to change the size of the elements you have added on your canvas, there is a shortcut you can use to change the size, either increase or decrease it on your canvas. So let's say you want to change the size of this layer, which is the rectangle. You just select it, and the shortcut we are going to use is Control plus T. Control plus T. As soon as you press Control plus T on your keyboard, you're going to see these transform controls all around the elements. So we are just going to click, hold it, and drag it. If you want to increase the size, just drag it upwards. And if you want to decrease it, just do it like this. And there is another one here I want you to check. While when you press the Control plus T, you have this one. You see that when you check the options bar, we have the X axis and we have the Y axis. And aside the X and the Y axis, we have the width and the height. So we can decide to increase only the width or decide to increase only the height. But there is something here. If you turn on this one, let me zoom in so that you can see it well. You can decide to turn this feature on or turn it off. When you turn it on, what it does is that it locks both the width and the height. So as you are making changes to the width, the height will be changing as well. So if you decrease the width 2 times, the height will be decreased 2 times. If you increase it 3 times, the same thing happens to the height. But if you turn it off like this, if you increase the height, only the height increases like this. You can see that only the height is increasing. And if you decide to change the width to, only the width changes. But if you turn on this feature, if you increase the height, both the height and the width will increase. And if you increase the width, both increases at the same time. Once you are done changing the size, you can decide to press enter, or you can click on the mark 2 over here. And if you don't want that changes you made, you can click on here to bring it back to the normal shape before making the changes. So it's over to you. So I think this is all for today. I'll be taking your questions. Any question concerning what you've learned today? Any question at all? Any question at all concerning what you've learned today? Any question? Any question? So I'll be in the comment section. If you have any question, bring it on board and let's answer it. Is there a lot of shapes? Yes, please. There are a lot of shapes you can choose and draw aside the ones over here. And besides, let me go to custom shapes and let's see. There are a lot of shapes in the custom shapes. We have animals, leaves, flowers, and others. There are many shapes, and aside these three main, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Aside these 5 main shapes they have given us, you can work on these ones to turn it into other shapes as well. So if I've drawn a rectangle and I want to make a big changes, you will get there. You can change it to other shapes you want, like this one. You can work on it. You can even turn it into a triangle. You will get there. So there are a lot of shapes. A whole lot of shapes. Any other question? Any other question? We are done for today. So once we are done with our questions, I'll give you assignments for today. When you are done, you can bring it, you can post them in the groups. Okay, I'm still waiting for your questions. Still waiting for your questions. Still waiting. Okay, so assignment for today is we are going to use the Photoshop to draw these shapes. Mistakenly, I should have taught you how we are going to save it, format before we get here. So that's what we are going to talk about first thing tomorrow. So once you are done using the Photoshop, you just snap it with your mobile phone and post it in the group. So if there are no questions, I think we should close. Any other questions? Any other questions? Any other questions? Any other question? Okay, so if you have any question and maybe your network is not good and you couldn't post it, you can keep it. God willing, tomorrow when we meet, you can bring out your questions and then we will discuss it. Okay, so our assignment is to use the Photoshop to draw the rectangle, the ellipse to and the triangle. After that, you use your mobile phone to snap it and then post it in the group. Tomorrow, we will talk about how we are going to save it, and then we will talk about the other tools as well, and we will talk about how we are going to design, how we are going to save after designing as well. So thank you all for joining. God willing, tomorrow same time, 9 p.m. you will meet. Shalom.